Spain's uneven revolution, factories, fractures, and the fight for modernity. Spain industrial history, Catalonia factories, Barcelona 1900s, industrial struggles. In the grand story of Europe's industrial rise, Spain often feels like a late chapter. While Britain and Germany were already humming with electricity and steel, Spain entered the 1900s with a patchwork economy. Some regions racing ahead with factories, others still locked in feudal rhythms of agriculture and monarchy. Yet despite the slow start, the seeds of revolution, industrial and social, were being sown in a corner of the country that refused to wait: Catalonia. By the early 20th century, Barcelona had emerged as the industrial heart of Spain. Textile factories lined the edges of the city, churning out cloth, garments and industrial fabrics for both local use and export. Powered first by steam and later by electricity, these factories became the lifeline of Catalonia's economy and the crucible for Spain's modern labor movement. Catalonia's success was not accidental. It had proximity to the sea for shipping, access to raw materials, and a culture that embraced trade and innovation. But more importantly, it had ambition. While Madrid remained bureaucratic and royal, Barcelona became bold and mechanical. The skyline of cathedrals slowly made space for chimneys and train lines. Yet industrial growth came with deep fractures. While the Catalan region grew richer, much of southern Spain remained agrarian and impoverished. The lack of national integration meant that infrastructure, education, and energy access varied drastically across the country. Roads were poor, rail connections inconsistent, and many rural areas were left out of the industrial future entirely. Inside the factories, life was no less difficult. Long hours, poor ventilation, child labor, and minimal wages defined the average day. As production ramped up, worker dissatisfaction grew louder. The rise of anarchist and socialist movements took root in Barcelona's factories, where working-class men and women began organizing, striking, and demanding change. In 1909, this unrest boiled over during the Semana Trágica, or Tragic Week. After the government called up reservists, mostly working-class Catalans, to fight in Morocco, massive protests erupted. Churches were burned, factories shut down, and the streets of Barcelona turned into battlegrounds. It was one of the clearest signs that industrial Spain was not just about machines, it was about identity, equality, and revolution. Meanwhile, Spanish industries began to diversify. Beyond textiles, new sectors emerged: shipbuilding in the Basque Country, mining in Asturias, and even early steel and chemical production in Bilbao. Companies like Altos Hornos de Vizcaya laid the foundation for future heavy industry. Still, compared to the giants of Britain or Germany, Spain's industrial base remained modest and regionally fragmented. The Spanish government struggled to unify this uneven growth. Corruption, monarchy, and a weak central administration prevented coordinated national policies. What followed was a turbulent century: dictatorship, republic, civil war, all of which were deeply influenced by the country's unresolved industrial and social inequalities. Yet despite the chaos, Spain's industrial heart kept beating. The factories of Barcelona and Bilbao survived wars and political upheaval, and in many ways became the birthplaces of modern Spanish identity. Not through royal decree, but through the sweat and solidarity of ordinary workers. So when we think of Spain, let's look beyond the plazas and palaces. Let's remember the looms, the chimneys, and the sparks that lit a nation's long and still unfinished journey toward industrial justice. Do you believe uneven development in a country can lead to stronger social movements? Let's talk about it in the comments.